Brilliant. Let's get going then. So welcome everybody. My name's Ant Parsons. I'm representing Enterprise Oxfordshire today, but I'm also Managing Director of ALP Synergy Limited, and we deliver the business support across Oxfordshire and elsewhere as well. So if we're not connected already on LinkedIn, please do connect with me. I am absolutely thrilled and excited about doing this session today. I almost was a victim of this cyber attack. So I knew about it straight away. And a couple of days later, when I saw how quickly it had been dealt with, I reached out to Sarah and said, do you know what? I think there's a really positive story here that we could share. And Sarah absolutely has been brilliant in saying, yes, let's go for this. So today we've got Sarah Stevens, who's Managing Director of Silo Beyond HR. We've got Lindsay Willis from Silo Beyond HR as well. And you'll get to know these characters quite well once we get going. And we've got Joe Waxman here from Trinity Managed Services, who is the IT provider that works with Silo Beyond HR. So
hello.
I guess once I get going,
yes, I'm fine. I'm fine. What news?
I need to mute someone. Let me make sure everybody else is muted. Hopefully, this is the wonder of me being involved. Okay, hopefully, if you are unmuted, please do mute. Apart from obviously the people we're chatting to. So I'm going to kick off and speak to you first, Sarah.
As in they put in there's 2 stents.
Okay.
Oh,
there we go. Found that one. Great. Okay, so Sarah, tell us about the company. Tell us about your role. Tell us about your approach to cybersecurity prior to all of this happening.
Okay. All right. Well, hi everybody. Great to be involved in this, and more than a little nerve-wracking to actually be talking to this many people. So I'm just going to talk to you, Ant.
No problem.
So Silo Beyond HR was set up 16 years ago, really with the absolute aim of providing HR support to small businesses. And right from the get-go, and increasingly, security and client data and privacy has been absolutely essential to me, and by extension, the business. The use of tech in the 16 years that we've been in business has significantly changed, including the use of HR tech as well. And it was probably about 6 or so years ago that I went to a cybersecurity seminar and heard those infamous words, it's a question of when, not if. And at that point, I decided we needed to do things differently. So as an organisation, I mean, we work with various other providers like Breathe and by Hasco. So we know that from a security and data protection perspective, they're covered from their own security, and we by extension are covered to a point. But we needed to ensure that our increasing amount of client data is covered, because we're holding secure information around employees, we're holding secure information about documentation, anything and everything that you would imagine gets seen by an HR consultancy, we're holding on to it. So I'm a little paranoid, and have been 16 years in business, still going strong, and I never, ever, ever wanted clients to be in any doubt that security was not something that we took very seriously. And so when we moved IT provider, we actually went down the Cyber Essentials route, and we ensured that we had all the relevant training in place for everybody, and that we're multi-factor authenticating every time we're doing anything, and we're learning lessons. So fundamentally, this was a bit of a nightmare for us. It really was. It was worst possible scenario on so many levels. And it was the coming true of what I had heard. It was the when, not if.
Brilliant. Okay. And I think you were out of the picture on the day.
I was. I unfortunately was sat in A&E at the time, really unable to do anything. I'd had a horrendous tooth extraction, and it wasn't even a pretend situation for me. I just couldn't function And it was not even one of those situations where I could just try. I couldn't, unfortunately. So yeah, horrible.
Okay. Great. And Lindsay, so please do introduce yourself, but you were the entry point. You were the point that got attacked by this cyber attack.
The victim, the initial victim. So yeah, I'm Lindsay Willis. I'm head of client delivery at Silo Beyond HR. So work very closely with Sarah. I manage all of our client activity and I manage our team at Silo as well. So yeah, should I tell the story of what happened on the day?
Yeah, what happened,
Okay.
and you know, given the fact that you're cyber essentials, how did you get?
Yeah. Okay. So let me start by saying this isn't an easy story for me to tell. I've been quite nervous about doing this today. And really, isn't it an experienced HR professional with a strong focus on data security and confidentiality? I do feel deeply embarrassed that this happened to me and to Silo. But I wanted to share it because it could happen to anyone. And I hope this helps others to stay vigilant. So if I set the scene, it was 9 a.m. I'd just arrived at my desk after a chaotic school run. That involved dragging my son out of the car and into school. There were some challenges there. So that morning I was feeling really flustered. I had a packed day ahead, meetings, calls, a few urgent client matters to deal with. Just as I was settling in, I received a message from Sarah saying she was unwell and wouldn't be around. So I knew as well I needed to check her diary and make sure her commitments were covered for the day. While that morning I was scanning through emails, one caught my eye. It appeared to be from a client we'd worked with before in the aerospace sector. They previously shared documents with us via a secure portal, and this email looked quite similar in format. However, I am cautious with any emails containing links. So I double-checked the sender's email address against our records, and I emailed them to confirm its authenticity. So that was really the first error. Looking back, I should have picked up the phone, and that's my key learning from this, and something that I always do now. However, when I received a reply on email from who I thought was the client, confirming the email was genuine, I clicked the link, and that's when everything unravelled. So within minutes, this malicious email had been forwarded to over 900 contacts. My phone lit up with calls, emails, LinkedIn messages, WhatsApps, you name it. And that's when I realised something was seriously wrong. Thankfully, our IT provider, Trinity, they acted fast. They shut down my systems, reset passwords, and helped contain the breach. I went into full disaster recovery mode. So I, did my best to respond to all the messages pinging through. I issued communications to everyone affected and did everything I could to reassure our contacts. I think what surprised me the most was the wave of support I received, which was really humbling. So the type of messages that came pouring through were from clients and colleagues saying, sorry, it was your turn. And I think, that's true. I think everyone realises that their turn is going to happen. And lots of messages saying, I hope you're okay. And it was humbling and a reminder that even with the best intentions, we are all human and these things are going to happen. And, I think it's fair to say that I did experience every emotion that day. Went through the real curve, of kind of shock, anger, disappointment, upset, everything. And yes, I did have a big glass of wine that night. It was very much needed after the experience. So yeah, as I said, not an easy story to recall and to tell, but that's the reality of what happened on the day.
Yeah, and we all are absolutely delighted that you are happy to share this and share your learning. So Sarah, you were out of the picture. We've sorted that already. I mean, what does it say about the organisation and the leadership that you've got in place?
I don't know what it says about the leadership, but I know what it says about Lindsay, and I know what it says about my trust in her. That actually, when I first received I received a WhatsApp image from somebody to say Lindsay's been hacked, and I knew at that point that regardless of anything, Lindsay could handle it because A, she's Lindsay, and B, we had all the right support in place. We had all the right relationships that she knew about and was able to access. We're a small team, so that I think does make it easier that everybody knows all of the right people to go to. But as Lindsay said, she raced around all the gamut of emotions. And actually, in those moments, what I knew to be true was that she would remain calm under pressure and be able to deal with it, because in our day-to-day world, we are dealing with things which are not easy, that require us to remain calm, even though they are quite complicated and can, in many cases, be quite emotional and emotive for the people involved. So I had real faith in Lindsay's ability to do it, but I also had faith that the IT company, that Trinity, would be able to and would very, very quickly step in. I mean, I've got a timeline of the events. Is that worth sharing? Is that, let's see if I can, just with my slightly dodgy tech, just show that. So 10:44, 10:46, something like that. I get a WhatsApp image from somebody with a screenshot of what they had received from Lindsay, which said that she had been hacked. Then we got a Teams message sent to 3 of our team members from the same person. It was actually the person who used to host our website for us. And I think that used to is quite key in the relationship piece here. That actually the relationship was good enough that they did do something about it. Then I think I raised a ticket to Trinity, because that was the process. That was what we did. Plus, I wasn't 100% fully functioning, but basically saying, Trinity, please investigate. And 3 minutes later, they'd reset her password. They'd reset Lindsay's password. All the while, Lindsay will have been in touch with them anyway directly. I then at 11:11 get a message from Lindsay in response to "you okay?" to "yep, they're on the case." And basically by 12:40, so less than 2 hours later, a safe email had gone out to all of the recipients of the original email confirming what had happened and what action we had taken. So I just think, as a timeline, this up here just shows the speed with which we were able to operate because of the support that we had in place, and the knowledge of that support. I think that was really important.
And I received one of the emails from Lindsay, and I received the safe email at 12:40, and I was absolutely flabbergasted. I couldn't believe that it had been managed to be resolved so quickly, which was what prompted me to get in touch with you and say, we've got to share this story. So it seems you might be the hero of this story then, Joe, or at least one of the heroes. So please introduce yourselves and, tell us the story from your side.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thanks, Ant. So I'm Joe Waxman. I'm head of commercial for Trinity Managed Services. So we are a national, becoming global IT MSP. But just to highlight a couple of things for Lindsay, Sarah, and the rest of the Silo team. It is human error. Life hits everybody very, very hard. We're all dealing with different things. So what happened to Lindsay isn't her error. It's not her fault. It was just, unfortunately, bad things happen. With everything from AI to just a simple email, you can be caught out. So it's nothing to be ashamed of. It does happen, but having the right steps in place is really important. So from our perspective, time is the most critical aspect in these situations. So I'm pleased to say that Trinity's average first response time is sub 6 minutes. And this just allows us to get ahead of issues before they spiral. So to echo what Sarah just said, so Silo reached out to us at 10:51. We'd started our breach procedure at 10:54. So that was the main starting point where we reset Lindsay's password. But based on Lindsay and Sarah's initial email, we were aware that the breach had come from HubSpot. However, we need to adhere to our full breach procedure to make sure that we're covering all bases. So we cover it in 6 steps, and we ran every step for Silo. So the starting point for us was a it was disabling and blocking the affected accounts. So that is immediately blocking access to stop any further malicious activity. If disabling the account isn't possible right away, we then have to make sure the password is reset, which we did, but also force sign out on all devices. So you have to, and we always highlight the MFA, so multi-factor authentication, must be on. However, we have to reset this and provide access over the phone, which I know that one of our engineers called Lindsay and provided this access to ensure that then real users could then log back in. At the same time, it was all about reviewing all of Silo's devices and removing anything or anyone that was unknown or suspicious. This step really allows us to stop any hacker, any attacker, whatever they may be, from continuing to use the stolen credentials, really. The next phase of our operation is to then review the third-party applications and permissions. So for us, it was just checking any new or unknown third-party applications that were connected to the account. From this, we could then establish what application and service may have been affected outside of what we directly manage. So in this case, we could see that HubSpot was compromised. And although we don't directly manage or support this application, we want to be able to provide Silo with the advice and guidance they require. So we were able to advise on that you need to reset your password for that account, which then just re-secures HubSpot. We then wanted to ensure that MFA is then enabled, and this just prevents any future breaches. And then the final step is then to contact HubSpot, because they will have their own internal breach procedure, and this allows to mitigate any potential damage. So even though we know this came from HubSpot, you still need to adhere to all the breach procedures, because you never know what could have happened in those first 3 minutes, first hour, however long it takes to someone to actually recognize that there's been a breach. So the next part is about the admin and privileges. So we need to look through that. So we need to ensure that were any of the accounts that were compromised, did any of them have administrative privileges? And if they did, immediate removal and restrictions needed to be investigated. We also had to review any other admin accounts for unusual sign-ins or changes of role. And this just helps ensure that this single breach is not spread to a much wider environment, so to speak. And then it's then looking at the email. So it's email forwarding and inbox rules. So a lot of people received emails. So we needed to make sure that there was no forwarding addresses and no inbox rules that allowed the attacker or hacker to be able to receive emails without us knowing that they were going out. And second, if anyone was replying, was it going to the attacker and not going to Silo? So they wouldn't even notice that this was happening. So we just had to ensure that we deleted any unauthorized rules and any forwarding settings to stop any data being sent to the wrong person. The second to final step is then just making sure we restore normal operations. So that's once the account is secure, we safely restore user access across all with all new credentials, all enforced MFA, and this just allows everyone to use their system once again. And then Trinity, what we normally do is we then monitor the account closely for unusual activity over the next few days as well. But the final step and the most important, and this is where we worked very closely with Sarah and the rest of the team, it's the review, learn and strengthen. The goal of this is to make sure the next attempted breach is stopped before an incident even occurs. So Sarah actually reached out to Tom, who was one of the people that was working on this. And she basically emailed Tom with a variety of different questions about the breach, what steps were taken and the next steps for the training going forward. Thankfully, Tom was able to detail exactly what we did and how we ensure this won't happen again. And I think the most important thing to really take away from this is 4 key points. And one is about speed. Speed equals containment. The faster the response, the less damage is done. It's then looking at the visibility, which will really look at the control of the business. So regularly review connected apps, admin roles and email rules. Preparedness is all about confidence. A clear process and trained staff will turn panic into prevention. And then one key thing where we play a big part is the partnership side. Partnership ensures protection. So having a proactive IT provider ensures an immediate action and no delayed reaction. And that's the big role that we want to play.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. So it obviously had a big impact there and then. You know, we've said about, you know, it was resolved within 2 hours, but that's with a little r, isn't it, Sarah and Lindsay? I think, you know, what's been the wider impact for the business?
Shall I take that one, Lindsay? So nothing bad, actually. The wider impact for the business is that we did learn some lessons from it, and we haven't lost a single client as a result of this. And as Lindsay said, the amount of positive support that has come out of this has just been fantastic. And I think that is one of the things that has really been really useful for us as a business to see, that the value of relationship is really, really important. I think for me personally, what I learned is that clarity is key. So everybody knowing what was possible was absolutely fundamental, and just awareness, as Joe said. I think just awareness of what was actually needed, what steps were needing to be taken when, is absolutely key. We did learn that we didn't all have MFA switched on at the time, and that now is the case. MFA is absolutely critical. And I also think what we have learned is that it's okay to talk about this stuff, and it's actually really important to talk about this stuff, because the human side of this is it doesn't go away. It still causes a bit of upset, I think, when we think about it, because of what can happen. I mean, you see it in the news with organisations way, way, way bigger than ours that have been flawed. So I think the human side, as Lindsay mentioned at the beginning, that's been really underlined for us. We're a very human business. We care about each other. We can and we do rely on each other. But it was really important on that day for me to know that Lindsay was okay, that she was how she was at the end of the day with her glass of wine. So
I remember receiving a message from your partner, Sarah, checking in, which was so lovely. You know, you should have been focused on getting better, not me.
I couldn't speak, so he could. So, but the point is that actually, as a business, we learned from it. We could have lost clients as a result of it, and we didn't. And actually, we've had a very busy time since, which is a great thing. But nothing detrimental so far.
Wonderful. Well, I mean, that's great to hear, and it's brilliant that Lindsay got so many positive messages. But also, I think it probably has given your clients more trust in you. You know, knowing that this has happened and seeing what's happened to Jaguar Land Rover and others over recent months, and thinking, well, hold on a minute, our HR provider, it must be better than Jaguar Land Rover and Marks and Spencers and all of these others put together. They've got their stuff sorted. So you've shared a few lessons there that you've taken away, but if you know we're wanting to share that learning. So for the other SMEs here, maybe I'm going to everyone here. So Lindsay, what would your lessons be for the individuals out there?
Never trust an email. I'm hyper vigilant. I was vigilant before, I'm hyper vigilant now. And I think I said earlier, my key lesson is to ring. So I pick up the phone now if I think anything looks at the slightest bit suspicious that comes through on email. I pick up the phone and call the person to verify it.
Yeah. Okay. Sarah, your lessons for people?
I think I would agree with that. I think it's great through our IT provider that we have the U-Secure, so the kind of test emails that come through, the kind of test of phishing things that come in. I think they're useful, because I'm not going to lie, I did click on one the other day, and I knew, but immediately I knew that I had been fake fished, and then I get my little course that I have to go on, which is good. So it's an ever evolving thing. That's the thing, is that there is no standing still with this. And just because it's happened once and we managed to get through it and we're still standing, doesn't mean to say it's not going to happen again. But I think I've always been able to rely on the team, and I can still rely on the team, and they can rely on me, and we can rely on the people that supply our IT security. That's just a fact.
Yeah, great.
And-
Because it can be a boring topic, can't it? You know, to bring it up in regular team meetings. Oh, we're going to do the cyber security conversation again.
Yeah.
It's probably not boring anymore. When
I think the most important thing is that it's a learning curve for everyone, but it's something that you don't always expect it's going to happen. So, talking from an IT perspective, it's just if you're working with an IT provider, they're there to do a job. If you're worried about something, pick up the phone, because as I've highlighted before, speed matters. Even if it could be nothing, it's safer just to test it to see. No one's going to get annoyed with you because that's the job they're providing. But it's also your people are your first line of defense. So making them aware of these situations is really important. So doing something like this is really, really crucial. There's so many companies that are out there that don't think it's going to happen to them. But unfortunately, the way the world is going, the small businesses are still impacted. So it's really important to kind of highlight awareness. And then the third point, and this kind of echoes me more than anything, so I'm doing this for my benefit, but working in a partnership with an IT provider allows you to have instant support. It allows you to have that external IT department who's going to work alongside you to make sure that you're safe. And I think that's the most important thing. It's the big term there is partnership. It's not just choose any IT provider and you've ticked the box. It's finding someone who's actually going to work with you and be there for you. And that's the most important thing.
Can I add one other thing? Sorry, Ant, just one other thing, that actually we do now quarterly business reviews with Trinity. And they are really, really useful because they just allow us to review any instances which might have occurred, but allow us both to be a little bit more proactive. And that is the relationship that you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not doing this to get everybody to ring you up afterwards, Joe, to book your services, but I'm assuming if you can be the best IT provider in the world, but if you're not already set up with an SME and got access to everything, then there's very little that you'll be able to do other than giving them advice and guidance.
Yeah, so from an IT perspective, the reason why we were able to do everything we did is that this surprisingly actually happened only about 20 days after us becoming an IT provider. So it allowed us to really put in the effort to show what I'd promised Sarah initially is what is like it's proof really, so that we had a proof of concept there. But if you don't have an IT provider, calling up someone to help you with this situation is near impossible because we don't understand your systems. We don't know how you're set up. We can't do any type of rulings. We can give you advice and guidance and what steps you need to take, but to be able to actually jump in and do it for us to do it for you would be very difficult. So having something in place sooner rather than later is the most important thing.
Yeah. And as you've said, this is something that it's going to threaten lots of small businesses, whether they're solopreneurs, micro businesses, or even with hundreds of staff or Jaguar Land Rover size. So we've all got to be as prepared as possible.
Exactly. And the thing is, I think people do forget that the most common phrase I hear is, I'm a small business, nothing's going to happen to me. Why would they come after a 5-person accounting firm? Well, it's because you're making revenue. Why not? And the thing is, it's become in the black market scheme of things, cyber attacks are most profitable thing to work in. And it's not just one person sitting in a bedroom doing this. You've got offices that are filled with tens of thousands of people doing this globally, and it's a huge operation. So unfortunately, it's not a nice thing to say, but no one is safe, and it's just taking the right steps to make sure that you are well looked after is the most important thing. So training your staff, having the right security procedures and protocols and controls in place, that is the most important thing for any business.
And Silo Beyond HR are evidence that if you do those things, even when you do get attacked, which we all inevitably will, then the business can do well throughout, come through it. The staff are looked after, valued and celebrated. And the business, the clients trust you more, probably, Sarah. So
Yeah.
I think the biggest takeaway from that is that Silo were very honest with everyone. They were very, very hot on it to make sure that they made their clients aware that this was happening. You get a lot of businesses, and this is why we'd always highlight Silo did it without us even asking them or telling them to. They were very quick to tell their clients that this has happened, but they were also very proud to say that we've resolved the issue and we're going to do our very best to not let it happen again. And we're thankful to work with companies like Silo because they're integral to the majority of businesses around the country. So being able to work with you in that sense is a great thing for us as well.
Great. So, well, thank you all three of you for sharing your experience. It's reassuring to hear it. It's also scary, and I'm sure everyone here has got things to go away and take some action on.